Hello and welcome to the Black Advancement. My name is Ajuman Jasante Goodman and I'm your host today. To my right is Greg Goodman and to my left is Dwayne Robbins, and we will be discussing today Abomination or Abomination, first black president. Just to introduce ourselves to everybody else, the Black Advancement is a movement that is built to uplift the black community through dialogue and action. Now, give a little background on our topic before we go into it. At approximately 11 Eastern Standard Time on November 4th, 2008, Barack Obama was pronounced the winner of the presidential election. And it was a moment unlike any other in American history, not only because he was the first black president, but also he did it with a message of hope and change. However, now it seems that he's been undermined and undercut and in every way criticized from all parts and all people. And this has led us to a question of whether his presence in the White House is actually helping or hurting the black community. So the first question within this discussion is, what grade would you give Obama and why? And I will start this off with Greg Goodman.
I would have to give his first term, which could be his last term, a C, mainly because I'm split down the middle with a lot of the issues that he covers. Like, some things I agree with wholeheartedly, other things I completely and totally disagree with from a religious standpoint. But all in all, I'd say it's split right down the middle for me personally.
Dwayne?
You know, and this may sound bad, but I mean, I'm gonna give him an A, because we all know when a black man goes into a job that they let us have events after a long, long period of time. It means it's gotten really, really bad for us to let us go in and do it. So I give him an A for the simple fact that he's gone in there, he's tried to do things. And I mean, to me, they've just mistreated the man. So, I mean, they don't respect the office, you know? But, you know, they always change the rules. There's always like, you respect the office, as long as there's a white man in there. As soon as a black man gets in there, they disrespect him. I mean, they say some of the just...
That is...
Some of the just... and I'm just talking about the process of it, not along with some of his things, because there's some of the things I don't agree with that he's done. But I'm just saying, just in general, the practice that has happened in this country, with him being a black man going into that situation, they only allow us to go into a situation when they've gotten really, 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 really bad. I mean, look at history. When we started fighting in the wars and stuff like that, you know, it was the guys from Tuskegee. They went in there and kicked butt, but they didn't give them the best training or anything like that. Them guys just did more with less. We've always done more with less, you know? And for me, that's why he gets an A. And this is not based on policy, but based on the procedure that we go through. That we always have to break those walls down in this country to be able to be considered equal, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we gotta be the best to actually be considered equal.
Why do you guys feel that he's treated this way because he's black, so to speak? Or?
Yeah.
Do I? Man.
That's the only reason.
Well, do you?
I mean, that's the only reason you get treated this way. I mean, look, he is the first black president. I mean, but go back and look at anything where we were the first black in. Jackie Robinson in baseball. Look what he had to put up with. They said, for you to come up in here, you got to let these people call you racial epithets that I'm not going to say. But he had to accept that. And so as a black man, you gotta kowtow. You know what I'm saying? It just eats me up on the inside for the simple fact is that they can be considered. And I don't want this to sound like I'm a racist or nothing like that, but it's but that's the reality of it. And to me, that's the big gorilla in the room on why this country will never be as great as it can be, because we won't address this race issue. And it's here, it's prevalent. It now has economics wrapped up into it, because now it's a haves and a have-nots, but most of the have-nots look like people of color, even though there's a lot of white have-nots who think they have allegiance with all the people with the money. But the messed up thing is that they follow them.
Right.
I mean, they still get crapped on.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're dealing with the same thing I'm dealing with, and you have an allegiance to them. Like, you really think you're gonna get there? It's been the same 3% of people that have had other money since the beginning of this country. That's now.
But you realize that is the history of America. That's part of the big dividing thing.
Oh, I know.
That's the reason why black and white was completely invented. There was no black and white before America.
Right.
So it's just like back in the day when they used to have black slaves and they also had white indentured servants. So they tricked them, fooled them, because they're in the same crappy situation, which is a perfectly fine opportunity for everybody in this messed up situation to join hands and rise up together to overthrow freedom. But these the rich white people, they have drilled into their head,
brainwashed.
Yeah, you're down here, but you're better than them because of your color. At least you're still one of us, and that still goes on to this day. And that's the reason why a lot of these ignorant, backwards hillbillies that are broke, like a lot of these project peoples, a lot of our poor, broke down people, are always voting against their interests because they still feel like they can be one of the haves, mainly because of their skin color.
Exactly.
And honestly, they're right. They do have a much greater chance than us.
Yes, they do. They do.
To go back to your beginning point about the grade with Barack Obama, you give it an A. I agree with you wholeheartedly on all your reasons why, but I would just the reason I gave him a C is because I'm basing it strictly on him and not what he's done. Because
I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's just my grade is based on him going through the process, because every time we go into a situation when it's the first person, black person doing something, it's the process that they're having to go through, that they're establishing. Like I said with Jackie Robinson, his process was he had to go and had to kowtow to people he was better than, letting them call him whatever they wanted to call him, and he couldn't respond back to that. I mean, all you got is your word and your dignity and what you're able to do. And they say you can do it, but you got to let them call him whatever you want to call you. I mean, what the hell is that? That's what's always
fair.
That sort of what we call the game.
Exactly. And all I'm saying is that there is the game out there, but they change it up. Just like now he's president, and I mean, just this week he comes out to make a statement about immigration. Okay, you disagree with him, but let the man complete his statement before you interrupt him.
Yeah, they did interrupt him.
Nobody's ever done. That has not been the process of how you deal with presidents since we've been here, even with the media and everything. And now they just do certain things. I mean, they was talking about his wife's behind.
We're gonna go on the record. I have no problem with Michelle's behind.
Neither do I. But I'm just saying the fact that has been brought up in conversations by those on the other side of the ledger, it baffles me. It baffles me. It's like, I mean, like, seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, like, seriously. I mean, I'm speechless.
We're going to do it a little different today.
Okay.
We're going to have one guy and one girl on the couch, actually. First, the girl on the couch. And who are the comments from?
The first comment is from Free Black Girl, and the question was, what grade would you give Obama and why? Free Black Girl states, Obama gets an F. I disagree with many of his policies, but for the purpose of keeping this post relatively short, I will boil it down to 2. His fiscal monetary policy / philosophy, and his expansion of Bush's police state through the Department of Homeland Security. His monetary policy. Having aligned himself with Wall Street by staffing his entire administration with former Goldman Sachs executives who, by the way, spearheaded the unregulated use of derivative instruments that caused the current crisis, and having received more funding from Goldman Sachs than any other source, Obama's monetary policies have resulted in a further devalued dollar, inflation, which is squeezing the heck out of most average people's finances while providing no benefit to the economy and no additional jobs. Obama continues to launch illegal, unprovoked wars that are bleeding the budget and worsening the deficit. His only other solution, besides debasing the currency, of raising taxes on the quote-unquote rich, is inadequate and does not even begin to address the fundamental problems within the monetary and banking system. I could go on and on about this, but the bottom line is that inflating the currency equals economic enslavement for most average people. It's not a solution for the common man, and it's unsustainable. In general, if you don't understand this, you need to get educated on markets, finance, Keynesian economics, and monetary policy. This is affecting your life probably more than anything else, whether you realize it or not. Obama has taken Bush's police state to frightening new levels, and with the implementation of the airport naked body scanners, which are basically virtual strip searches, the grope downs, TSA checkpoints on the highways, bag searches on the metro, etc., Obama has completely destroyed the Fourth Amendment, protection of your right to unreasonable search and seizure. If you don't travel frequently, then you probably haven't noticed, but you will most certainly notice when the roadway checkpoints expand, as Obama has planned. This is how Nazi government started. It was a slow, incremental revoking of people's rights that devolved into a total tyranny. Think about it. In addition to the tyranny at the airport, Obama has established countless executive orders that have basically turned the office of the president into a dictatorship. The mainstream news media is not covering this, but I suggest you look into it. Because even if you support Obama and you think he would never use his new powers tyrannically, the next president could. Remember that.
Thank you, girl on the couch. Now we'll go to a guy on the couch reading another comment.
The second comment's from Michelle Martin. And the same question, what grade would you give Obama and why? Michelle states, I would give him a B. I don't agree with everything he's done, but I do think some people unfairly credit him for all our nation's financial problems. I have mixed feelings on his health care, but at least it seems to be a more workable package than that of the Clintons put forth. Time will tell whether and how well it truly works. I like that he appears to be more proactive on environmentalism than most of his predecessors, but I don't agree with what I perceive to be his strategies. For example, subsidies for green energy initiatives. Incentives and research are good, but I don't think the government should be in the business of picking and choosing which companies get all the money. I think the dramatic restrictions on offshore oil drilling are a bit overcorrecting the problems with that issue. I'm not sure how much effect all these moves have had on the current gas price problems, although I read that his energy secretary favors pushing up prices to force a greener mentality on the public, which I don't think is the appropriate answer. I supported his actions in Libya when many on both the right and the left screamed that he shouldn't gone to Congress first. He's taking positive steps toward improved mental and physical health care and education benefits for veterans, and as a veteran I must give him brownie points for aiming to reduce deployments and increase between deployment dwell times. He seems to have shifted center a bit since his campaign, but that tends to happen with presidents of both sides. The plus side of that is that it gives the impression of having a fair degree of requisite compromising spirit without giving up on subjects most important to him.
Thank you, guy on the couch. Now let's talk a little bit, respond to both of the issues. And the reason why we did that this time is because it's hard to find in some circles people who vehemently disagree with Obama's policies, at least in some of the circles that we're around. So we tried to expand it out so that we had more opinions up here, so we could talk further about it in more detail. So based on those responses, how do you guys feel about some of those issues?
As far as the first comment, obviously she has her. I mean, she probably has more the financial wisdom than I ever had, but I just don't know what war Barack started since he's been in office. I don't know which war that is, but so maybe she can respond to that at some point and tell me, because I don't know the fact that she's claiming. But
I think that's what she's talking about is the Libyan war, not so much war, but I guess our assistance in Libya.
But wasn't that an action that went under the United Nations?
It did.
Didn't you? So I mean, that's all the nations of the world. So I mean, yes, we're a leader and we're the, but I don't think you can put that on just at his feet. All the world is, at least from my understanding, what the United Nations is about. That's the world coming together and chastising somebody for what they did. Now, I mean, Libya is, all these situations are interesting, but we all know America only gets involved in for its economic gain, and that's been the case from the get-go. So I mean, for that to be said, you gotta really drill down in what's really going on. What companies are doing whatever they're doing in Libya, where they're making a lot of money. I said, now if you start bringing out stuff like that, then I can agree with some of the things that's being said. But to me, if you want to drill down like that, you got to drill all the way down to what the thing is. Who was Cheney? He was the CEO of what before he became vice president? Who got that $8 billion no bid contract over in Iraq? So I'm just saying, if you really want to drill down into stuff, drill down in it and see what we do, see what really happens, what's really going on. Because It all goes back to the economics of it and what 8 or 9 or 10 countries, companies, or corporations, because they become people now. You know what I'm saying? Control what goes on in this country. You know what I'm saying? By the amount of money they flood into Congress. So I mean, I understand her point, but like I said, there's so many different angles you can drill down into it and put blame to. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Greg, you have anything to say?
Well, just to sort of piggyback on what Dwayne said, like I said, I've always been a proponent of the fact that, for the most part, the president is not as powerful as we think. Yeah, he's just the one who gets all the blame when things go wrong, and he's the one who gets all the praise when things go right. But the fact is that the money and the corporations, the big business, whoever's behind all these, the source behind the source is the reason for all these things happening. You know what I'm saying? Because like I've always said, the people in politics and the other people with corporations and businesses, they all have an agenda that they're willing, that they must meet. It doesn't matter who's in that office for the most part, because their agenda is going to be met because they have all the dollars and the money and the power to make it happen. If it's within their plans, they'll let it go through. If it's not in their plans, then they'll block it and they'll put it on standby till the next guy comes in and plays ball. That's just how politics run. He's for the most part, for all his policies and thoughts and everything else, there's more than the reason that he's black that a lot of his ideas don't go through.
On our website, you have a research section. Within this research section, you can also, if you don't feel like you know these topics well enough to be able to respond intelligently, we do have actual articles and news articles that pertain to each of these topics that we go over. So you can go over to the research section at www.blackadvancement.com, and you can fill yourself with some knowledge before you answer into our website. Also, we want to point out our book of the month, which is Animal Farm from George Orwell. For obvious reasons, it's a book of really it's like 100 pages about the Russian Revolution, but you can look at it in a myriad of different ways. So I think that if you read this book and you look at it with an open mind and think of it maybe in terms of America as opposed to Russia or China as opposed to Russia, you might get more out of it. So that's our book of the month, and we'll be back after this. Thank you.